course, this last year, 2016, is also remarkable for other things, like Mind Mirror software updates, or new meters were introduced, more meditations were recorded, and more practitioners certified. And welcome, Annette. Annette is here today, so I think she could say more about herself. Annette?
I trained with Anna in 2002, 2003, practitioners training. And ever since, I've been doing private sessions as well as workshops, mainly together with Matthias. And still really, really enjoying this work and incorporating it as much as I can with other work I do. And I live close to Amsterdam. It's fun to meet you all.
And I'm so glad to see Annette again, because she and Matthias, they're doing so brilliant and great awakened mind trainings as a co-teaching in Germany. And I'm not sure if you're doing trainings in Netherlands, but these two guys were the ones that brought me to the awakened mind training. And Annette was the first one who drew my brainwave patterns. And so I'm very, very lucky, because they were like the door openers to all this work. And I'd really like to say thank you, Annette, for being there at the right place and the right time to pick me up and throw me into this train of awakened mind training. And now we meet again here somewhere in the webinar in the virtual reality. And just a small picture of Matthias. It's in the practitioner directory in Europe. And then we have got Matthias here. And I've also attached Annette. Here's your picture. Yay! Yay! So that's it.
Let me just add that ever since Andrea told me, and I think actually other Awakened Mind practitioners said the same thing, that Annette and Matthias were doing these trainings all over Europe, I've been dying to get them on the website. so I feel like this is a real anniversary present that both are now on the website as very active group trainers. Yeah, and thank you. It's great to be connected up with you, Annette, and because thus far we have only had you connected up on the books, CDs, and videos page, where you have that wonderful TEDx presentation where you're connecting up the brainwaves of the awakened mind with music. So this is a step closer, and we appreciate your presence and hope to connect up with Matthias at some point as well on one of these webinars. What a thrill we are to have Leonardo amongst us. Annette and Matthias have been trying to get Leonardo reconnected with us for so long. I've been sending him Facebooks and sending him Delta messages, and somehow something connected, and Leonardo bought a mind mirror and came down to Virginia and just trained on it, and what a thrill to have Leonardo amongst us, because he is a major neurofeedback therapist who's using 19-channel EEGs to measure and treat people, and he's got books out on the networks in the brain and how that looks, and he's going to look at that on the mind mirror, and we're going to ask Robin Bernard to do the same thing. So what networks does the awakened mind activate? Well, we're going to find that out. Leonardo has 2 neurofeedback practices in Brazil and travels between them, and it's really exciting that he's going to move us along in terms of finding out what more we can about the pattern.
Just a lovely picture from Leonardo.
I just want to say, really, it was wonderful to be back. These years were really learning years for me in many aspects. I am thrilled by what you achieved and what you did with all this. I am sure that Anna is, wherever she is very proud of you, Judith. It was a pleasure to meet Andrea, and really, you guys rock. And I am so excited to be back, and let's do what we are supposed to do. That's all what is expected from us, and what I believe in. And from the years of training with Anna, and having had the privilege to have that experience, and having you as a colleague in that training, that friendship as can be, and this is friendship for life. So I'm just thankful for my life, and to have all that back. So very, very happy to be here with you guys. I want to say hello to everybody. It was a pleasure seeing all your faces, and getting to know you guys, at least in briefly over the internet. And I hope we meet again, because these are special people. Anyone that connects to this job, not to this work, is really touched by higher frequencies.
Well said. And what I would like to add is that Leonardo came up with the idea to publish all the material in Brazil. So that's all the meditations done in Portuguese, and then it's available in Brazil, and that'll be so cool.
That we're gonna do that. So
yes,
wait up, things are happening, but we're gonna do that, Andrea, and I'm very excited and thankful that after meeting you, it is someone like you that is ahead of this project. So thank you very much. Thank you for everything, really, and for being there, and we'll keep in touch.
David is one of 2 people that I've certified this year. David is a hoot. As Oksana pointed out, he is really upbeat and dynamic and funny person who has extraordinary credentials that he brings to Awakened Mind training. He's a psychotherapist in Canada, and he also does hypnotherapy, and he's an executive coach. He's a specialist in stress reduction and things like that. And he has those kind of hypnotic eyes, doesn't he? That's just one thing I really love about him. I'm showing you that he has a whole page of wonderful little shorts that he shot here at my house, talking about the older equipment. There's one about the older equipment. There's one about his meditations, and one about what a wonderful person he is. And on the front page, the home page of the Institute for the AwakenedMind.com website are all these links, not only to all those little shorts that I just showed you that David filmed, but also to this terrific program that he did with Stress Free Now. And it's an award-winning podcast. He's so funny, and he just rock and rolls when he's talking about this. And it's all meaningful and useful information, but somehow he presents it in this very funny way. So I really encourage you to get to know David by listening to the podcast that there's a link to up on the website. Now, you've already seen a picture of Robin Bernard, who is just our beloved presenter and such a lovely person. And she is a licensed social worker who has been specializing in developmental trauma and attachment disorder and things like that. And she was an early person working with Anna Wise and Linda Tellington-Jones on the research on horses. I started to say with horses, but on horses. Of course, that's really interesting to us because Anna wrote about the brainwaving the horses in her book. And I always wondered, who knew where the horse's brain was, or where to put those electrodes? I mean, the forehead's easy, but that's only the ground. How do you, I guess Linda must have known all those things.
No, they didn't really. They did the best they could. I've measured horses' brainwaves as well, and you look at the, bone structure, and you try to sort of guesstimate where you're putting the electrodes. But I've seen those old videos, and they were touching the animals using T-Touch to bring awareness to their own bodies. And you could see in the mind mirror the development of the awakened mind state during the T-Touch sessions. So,
in the horse.
in the horse.
A lot of alpha, I guess. I think I remember something about the alpha.
Well, that's what's surprising, because in the horses, they tend to have, well, calm horses anyway, tend to have more delta, as you would expect with the orienting response, and in animals who are going to be, you know, feeling out into the environment with their delta. But it created, I mean, it really did create this nice little mind mirror pattern. And it was a flash. It didn't last all that long, but it lasted long enough to see it on the mind mirror, and they have pictures of it. Pretty amazing.
To get an aha.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And you could see commensurate at the same time. You see the horses' bodies relax and their eyes close and their muscles release, and this experience of the alpha state in the body, but they're awake and paying attention. And you can see that as well. Their ears are forward, or their ears are moving to demonstrate their interest in their environment. And Lynn has used this for years through T-Touch to help animals and people learn.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know why it amuses me so much, because really what neuroscientists and all of us are saying now is that we're really built for awakening and enlightenment. We have the structures in place in the brain, and all of the principles and dynamics of consciousness and interaction with one another. All of these things by various laws help us awaken. So, but it just strikes me as kind of hilarious to think about a horse with a hooked up to the mind mirror. How do you keep the horse still? You know, questions like that.
Well, I have a picture of my horse. I've done a number of horses. I have some pictures of my horse hooked up to the lens, and you know, you learn how to adapt.
She's a wonderful researcher. She has a really logical mind, and you've seen perhaps on an earlier webinar how she put together all of her independent study presentations with such tremendous detail. And we're going to see more of that as she actually moves out of this office. She's opening a private practice and has all kinds of wonderful plans for mind mirror group trainings and research projects. And so we're going to be seeing more and more of Robin as time goes by. So this is a really exciting thing where we are bringing together new practitioners and practitioners who have worked with us before while we're working on the mind mirror software. We're using still the same content, but we were able to streamline the content down from 6 4.5-day seminars to 4 seminars. The seminars 3 and 4 contain a lot about group training. And so what Andrea decided to do was offer seminars 1, 2, and 3 for people who want to just become coaches. That's a kind of a German word that carries kind of the same meaning that it does in the US. And so coaches work with individual clients, but you have to go to Andrea's Seminar 4 to be able to be a group brainwave trainer. So you've got practitioners in a practitioner directory who have had all 4 seminars and can do private sessions and group sessions. And then you have coaches, and we'll start the same thing here if people show up and want to do that here in the US or wherever people are training. And they've had seminars 1, 2, and 3, but not the 4th one. And that gives people, I think Andrea's thinking also was that maybe they don't want to do group trainings to begin with, but then they can when they're ready to come back and certify for the 4th seminar.
And welcome another coach certified by Andrea. Stephanie. Stephanie is also with us, and I hope, Stephanie, I made your profile right, because I had to translate your website from German. Well, welcome.
I think we could ask Stephanie directly, because she's on the webinar. Oksana, you picked up the really interesting craniosacral therapist stuff in her. But what I also have to mention is that she's a certified IT business engineer.
Wow.
So she has got this extraordinary combination of really logical thinking and being a business, and on the other hand, she's got this intuitive healing and this like the other one I had. So we've got more and more people that are that have this multi-talented abilities, and to be really precise and clear and logical thinking, and on the other hand to integrate everything which is on the intuitive, on the healing part. So in case you've got any question, please ask Steffi directly. I think she's a wonderful woman, and she will be brilliant to this work. And yesterday we spoke about many ideas she's having about testing a lot of things about the new mind mirror frontal hookup we could have, and she's got brilliant ideas. So we just need some time to do this, or to bring these ideas to life. But she's really, really, I appreciate that that she's part of the IAM community. Steffi.
Thank you. So I'm glad to join you all, and I liked that session today because I was touched like twice or 3 times, and was great job. Thank you, Oksana. That's cool.
Oh, Stephanie, may I add one little thing to share how I feel? Because one of the days I really didn't feel well, and was in low spirits, and maybe beginning of a flu, and then I had the webinar to edit, and as soon as I started editing the webinar, I felt so much better. It's just instantly connecting with these people. As I said, they're deep, intelligent, creative. They are with great minds and great hearts, and they all are with passion. You can see this, right? They all are passionate about something, and they try to choose these passionate parts of their life so we could learn and see and feel them better. So that's why I think, it's good to be here. We are privileged.
That's true, yeah. It's something that you can just feel in like some seconds, and even if they're like short parts of those webinars, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
We've got another coach certified, and she's from the Netherlands. She's Susanne Temple, and she's got also this really extraordinary combination of she's an operations manager and an NLP practitioner, and she's got a master's degree in coaching, and she's got a training as a medium. So again, we've got this combination of, wow, really cool stuff. And she's a coach in Rotterdam. Here we've got the IAM coach directory. So we've got Stephanie here, and we've got Susanne Temple. Here she is.
I just want to give you a quick overview of what we've been doing administratively, what I've been doing administratively, and happily not alone anymore. So obviously Oksana has taken over these webinars and absolutely run with them, and Andrea has taken practitioner trainings and website design and meditation recordings and many, many other projects, including new business cards, table decorations, and a new brochure, the layout of a new brochure for Institute for the Awakened Mind for the TransTech conference. And so we have helpers, people who are showing up to do things. And I just want to introduce one of them to you now, and that is Laura Eichmann. There she is.
Hi everyone. As I mentioned before, I'm happened to be shocked when I discovered that Judith lived down the street from where I live. My background's actually 10 years in corporate banking and finance. I quit my job about 1.5 years ago because I was feeling rather burnt out and looking for something new. So I sort of wasn't quite sure, traveled a lot, and then my mother has been a psychologist for 30 years in the area and has done biofeedback and neurofeedback for the last 20 years. So I ended up getting, taking some biofeedback training and getting really interested in biofeedback, neurofeedback. And we're going to start up a business here in the area. And I discovered the Mind Mirror and Judith, and it all kind of happened rather quickly, but very happy to have discovered the Mind Mirror and going to be working a bit more with Judith and helping you guys out on whatever projects that you need help.
Which are a lot of projects, actually. It's such a delight to have Laura here because she can assist me in trainings, of course, and things like that, but she is taking a number of projects and running with them. One is that she has just put up an article that I wrote for Future Health on our having gone to the TransTech conference and being honored with that and receiving that award. And next, she's going to work on the Mind Mirror, getting the Mind Mirror trademark. Wow, that's a long, drawn-out project that I have promised and not been able to get to until now. And she's going to run with that too. And also the Wikipedia listings on Anna and Max and the Mind Mirror. Those are tardy and need to be done. And so we're just excited. Thank you, Laura, and we'll see you here on other webinars. And welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Now I want to show you what we have been doing all year long with Mind Mirror software. First thing I did, and I'm so relieved to have this giant project done, was the Mind Mirror instructional videos. There are 10 and they're growing. Everybody just does better with instructional videos. So that repository continues to grow, and that's loaded on the IAM events. If you just go to the IAM events.tilde.ws, in the video gallery, you find those Mind Mirror instructional videos there. The latest advances first for the software.
The ES meter is a way of monitoring where you are or where you've come from, shall we say, from where you started the session, and whether you're relaxing, whether you're sleeping, whether you're panicking, like I am, or whether you're just focused and sort of taking stuff in. Let me share a screen with you which shows the ES meter in Velastus. Now this is a new meter. Okay, so what we have here is 4 quadrants. So we have top left, relaxed and attentive, top right, active involvement, bottom left, lethargic or drowsy, and bottom right, panic. Okay, now I don't know how many of you do hypnotherapy, for example, but one of the problems you have as a hypnotherapist is you're never quite certain whether someone's in an Esdale state, a very relaxed and sort of attentive state, but in a deep trance, or whether they're asleep. One of the only ways of really knowing that is whether their peripheral skin temperature has either increased or decreased. So what we can do with the ES meter, let me just go ahead and record this. And I should point out I'm using a testing tool so I can manipulate these numbers. What we do here is we can test the temperature. So I'm using my temperature sensor here. So as I increase the temperature goes up. As I decrease it, it goes down. Now that's obviously monitoring the peripheral skin temperature of the skin, so that if, for example, I was asleep, the skin would naturally get colder and we'd be moving into the lethargic or drowsy state. You'll notice, by the way, that panic is on the same spectrum as lethargic and drowsy. That's because obviously as we get more panicky, as we get more stressed, the blood tends to go to the core and leave the periphery. So one of the ways of detecting panic is seeing what's happening with skin temperature. One of the other ways, by the way, of sorting out some forms of migraine is to get people to raise their skin temperature. Because if you can raise the peripheral skin temperature, what you can also do is obviously expand the capillaries, and that gets the blood flowing through the body, and in some cases can reduce some types of migraine. Okay, so there's the temperature going up and down as I take it off and on. What we can also do is, if we had the galvanic skin response, we would see this moving as well along the horizontal axis. So if, for example, I was getting more panicky, you would see that happening there as we're moving to the bottom right-hand corner. On the other hand, if I'm getting into a relaxed and attentive state, let's say a meditative state, then you would want to see the snail going over to the other side. So you see here, it will be moving over.
The primary benefit for awakened mind trainers is that this is the way and the only way that we can tell whether people are dropping into trance or a deep subconscious meditating trance or dead out fall asleep. This is one of my grandson's sessions. We've been doing a lot of sessions lately, and he has lovely brainwave patterns, as Peter Staples pointed out. He has very, very, very cold hands. I'm showing you is the new temperature meter and its interface with the new emotional state meter and the GSR, which is what Peter Staples was showing you in that video that Oksana just aired. Is they used to have an all-in-one device that they could use to measure. So now we have, as a result of that webinar, this emotional state meter. So what you do is you hook up to the new temp meter. It goes on the finger, and so does the GSR. And the two of those together will move you around in the quadrants here. Relaxed and attentive, active involvement, lethargic or drowsy, and panic. And this is an awesome new advance. The problem we've had as awakened mind practitioners is that somebody can go down into high amplitude theta and delta, and maybe their alpha is intermittent, and you don't know if they're asleep, going into a trance, or what. Well, if they're warming up, as my grandson was here, from 82 degrees to 95 degrees, well, then this temp meter is moving from panic or active involvement over into the relaxed and attentive quadrant. I have used the temp meter, and it's just unparalleled in terms of your security that your client is not fading away, because sometimes that alpha will disappear. And Leonardo knows this. And I had him hooked up, and it was in front of everyone in the class. He still had intermittent alpha, but he had this humongous theta and delta. The girls in the class were just tittering and saying, "He fell asleep. He's asleep." And Leonardo awakened from the meditation and heard every single word that Anna said. So sometimes you can't really tell as a practitioner whether the person's there or not. The latest thing that we've done is the pattern modifier. I just have so much fun with this thing, just thinking about what it can do. This is a recent development that has just enormous potential for us. Experimentation purposes, for one thing, that's what gets me excited. For self-trainers who are in training level 5 and they're getting good scores but on training level 4, but when they try to go down to training level 4, it's just too frustrating. They're getting like 30, 40, 50% awards, and the brain gets frustrated if it doesn't get 70% rewards or more. So what they can do with this pattern modifier is what I've done here. You can actually go and increase the theta, and it increases the theta. And for most people, the difference between training level, any training level, and the next is theta, that they need to get more theta. So you can actually very quickly make this kind of change. Or if the thing that seems to be getting in the way of your getting more rewards is beta, then you can add minus beta, okay? So I want to teach my brain to get less beta. You can adjust this thing in any old way. You could actually train the channeling pattern, adding more theta and more delta into here to see if it actually increased your intuitive perceptions. Cool, huh? This, again, is a direct result of the webinars. So all three of these software advances that I'm showing you have come as a result of discussions on the webinars. We already had the breath pacer. What we didn't have was this breath pacer setup, which Steve Clark added in. Now, Oksana did this stupendously good webinar on heart rate and HRV with John Coates. We were saying during the webinar, gee, we wish we could have this, we wish we could have that. So Steve went and gave it to us. And now you can set up the pacer with a number, so a number of beats. Say you're going to count to 6 and you're going to count to 6.75 on the out breath. Inhalation, you can set up the hold and how many segments you want to do. And this gives you your resonant frequency of breathing. And I actually found out that I was breathing at 4 and should have been breathing at 6 to feel more oxygenated and awake. So this is a very cool thing. All you need is the pacer on here. It would be useful to have the blood volume pulse if you have that instrument. If you don't, you can just use the pacer and feel it. If you do have the practitioner kit, then by all means you can go and look at the heart rate and see when it becomes more coherent, when it becomes more wave-like and stays steady. And then you are able to go back behind it and do a segmented summary. How you use that information, one way to use that information to determine your resonant frequency of breathing, the pacer setup is going to set up markers for you. And then you can left click inside of any marker and then this, and bring up HRV segment statistics. So it's just a right click HRV segment statistics, and it gives you this HRV summary window here, which gives you heart rate variability index, and stress index. But what you're actually after is what is your lowest heart rate? Decent, most decent above 5 or 6 HRV index, and certainly your 2 or 3 stress index. And so you just go from segment to segment, and that is going to tell you what is your resonant. This was a brainwave profile on me that was done by Noella, who is in Australia. Here I had this big drop in my heart rate, so I markered that off and right-clicked and brought this HRV segment statistics up, and sure enough, these are really nice scores, one of the lowest heart rates that I've ever had. Decent HRV, very low stress. You can see the LESH is down on 6, and around some evolved mind rounding here, and a little bit of gamma activity on the right. So one of the most important things that we've learned since we have had this integrated SR and BVP meters, it's incredibly important. Just look at the best readings, the best measurements of the lowest, maybe the highest you want to look at, and then correlate those to the brainwave pattern. And the same with the GSR. Watch that GSR go down, find out right before it went up, find out when it was lowest, find out what made it up, made it go up, connect that with your drawings, and you just get a ton of information that way.
Heart rate variability is very important. It is, I think, probably the thing you would do before you do neurofeedback. The challenge of doing neurofeedback on a stressed person is you are just really training the stress. So heart rate variability, getting that down, getting high heart rate variability is very good. One of the things that you get with the resonant frequency is apparently, and it seems to work, a doubling or at least an increase in the amount of HRV, even in people of my age. And at the same time, it appears that you're entraining the heart and the breath by pretty much instantaneously. Okay. Now the challenge is, of course, that everyone has a slightly different resonant frequency. First thing you need to do is understand what your resonant frequency is. Velistus provides what's known as a pacer, which is fairly standard. Every product has it. But what we do is we allow you to configure that pacer in order to provide a session to show or to find out what your resonant frequency is. You've got pretty much ultimate flexibility given a breath, which is a sine wave. What do you want to do? How quickly do you want to go up? What do you want to do at the top? How quickly do you come down? And what do you do at the bottom? Let's assume, for example, that we take a view and we say, okay, your resonant frequency is somewhere between 6 and 8 breaths a minute. We don't know where. So we want to go up in from 6 to 8 in half breath per minute increments. Okay? And we want to have each segment or each test point of a minute each. So you can have a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or whatever. You have to tailor this setup to the client.
Oh, definitely. But if you want to find the resonant frequency breathing, you have to go through a routine from 7 to 4.5 or whatever you pick on.
Yeah, absolutely.
The best range, and you don't sort of say, well, this person could be between here and here. You have to find out definitively which one it is. Otherwise, you're not going to get the benefits for the people. And we are talking about heart rate variability training and increasing heart rate variability.
Yes. In fact, what I'm showing you here is not biofeedback. This is purely follow the pacer. In the accessories, there's a pacer, and there we go. So it goes up. So you basically just follow the breath. So as the column is going up, you get your client to breathe in, and when it's going down, you get them to breathe out. And notice we've got this at 40-60 here. And you would do this for a minute. The software would then click on to 6.5 breaths a minute, then 7 breaths a minute, then 7.5, and then 8. And then once the session is finished, you can go back and analyze which of those breaths actually provided you with the highest HRV. There's the session. And just to show you that for a minute, I don't know whether you know these. This is a 5-minute session of BVP. Right. I can put a marker, a time-based marker in here of a minute. Okay, so there's a 5-minute session broken up into 5 segments. I can right-click on any segment and show the statistics for that minute. The key number it would be the HRV index and the PNN50. I would go with the HRV index.
Okay, so the one that's the highest, and there was one that was highest, that's it. And so those are just 3 things that we have created this year, really to add specificity, you know, into our ability to correlate and individually look at any of those EEG, GSR, BBP, and now we've got the temperature meter. And I think the temp meter is going to prove over time to be really one of the most important things, every bit as important as the GSR and the BBP meters. Velistus created a new temp sensor for us, and they are constantly improving on that and everything else. So we're really excited about that. If there was something I forgot, then I'll put it in the all auxiliary material, the appendix that's going to go out to you in January. It's all going to go into Mind Mirror Instructional Videos, which is our little growing library.
This year, 2016, is also remarkable for award that we get along with other very prominent companies, TransTech, in transformative technology. So this is the annual list of the key innovators who are developing science and technologies that significantly impact mental and emotional well-being. There are 200 companies on the list, and we are there. Institute for the Awakened Mind is there, along with Apple and Google and Deepak Chopra and iAwake Technologies and Wild Divine and Samsung and other companies. We are proud to be amongst them, and that's what the press release on TransTech says. New technologies to help reset our nervous system, meditate in VR, accessorize with fashionable bracelets that boost well-being, bridge the gap between tech and traditional yoga, optimize breathing combined with posture, improve our environment for greater well-being, measure our physiology anywhere at any time, recreate moments that bring us peace, and measure our brainwaves with inexpensive EEG devices that would have cost over $10,000 just 5 years ago. There is even an app that emotionally grows with us. And now I would like to show you a little video of how it all was. And thank you, Andrea, for sharing all the pictures with me.
Great conference, and it was like a very meditative state, although there was a lot of technology, a lot of awake people, and yeah, it was really exciting to see all the mix between people that were hiking in the Himalaya to measure some monks, and all these people were combined with the same interest, and to see such a great community growing where everything is possible, and where everyone was coming to a booth, and we were going to other booths and trying this and that, and everyone was asking. So it was really, really cool. I had a lot of fun there.
The most exciting thing was that the mind mirror, which has been dissed on for decades as being too subjective an instrument and therefore not reliable by a large proportion of the neurofeedback community and by scientists as well, was now elevated scientifically so that we fit with those communities. And indeed, as Gary pointed out at one point, it was like we were connecting with our own family. Max Cade, before he died, he told Isabel, that his wife Isabel, that he was sad that he had never been able to convince people that change in a brainwave state creates a change in consciousness. But everybody in that audience of 500 people from all over the world knew it. That's the kind of change that's happened since the 1990s and 2016. And these were our people, the people we belong with, who are making those changes. And so we received an enormous amount of respect. I mean, not only did I get to appear on this panel of leaders in neurofeedback, with two other people, but then we were asked to do a breakout session, and there were only about, I don't know, 6, 8 breakout sessions that people conducted. And Gary and Donna and Andrea were there, and so came also Peter Burke from Esalen. And so we just hooked up a whole bunch of people and guided them through meditations. And then the next day, we were invited to give one of only 4 workshops on Sunday morning. And that paid for the brochures and the, the table. So that really helped out. And we had a full house. We couldn't fit more people in the room. They kept having to drag chairs in from other rooms. And Andrea and Peter and Gary and Donna hooked up 12. We showed a bunch of people's brainwave patterns and guided them through about a 2.5-hour workshop.
I think the two of you did a beautiful job. I was very, very impressed with what both you and Andrea did. It was very productive. So many new ideas and things going on there. It'll take a while to go through all of it in my mind.
Let me pick up and say that Ballistas has just just released a new EEG sensor. I don't know how far down it goes, but it goes up to 100 hertz. And yeah. Steve Clark is going to pop that on top of the mind mirror pattern so we can look at those frequencies as an alternative mind mirror pattern. It might be able to go down below 0.5. So I'll put that on the list right now and find that out from Steve. You still can't move because there's the potential for SEMG artifact, but it's clear signal measuring up to 100 hertz, and that is going to be extraordinary. I'm sure he'll let us trade in our EEG sets for one of those or buy a new one for research purposes. We're going to also do that project in Jeffrey Martin's lab. He has a 64-channel EEG. He explained that it's just more specificity when you have a 16-channel. So we're going to hook up and get some people, some frequent offenders, producers of the awakened mind to go into Jeffrey Martin's lab and see what this pattern looks like in terms of brain structures and brain networks. So that is one research project. Another one that we're going to connect that came out like that one and directly out of the TransTech conference is this Finders course. And several of you have said that you're interested in enrolling in that course. And I'm actually waiting for Jeffrey Martin to give us some a couple of pieces of information so I can facilitate your joining the course. Andrea is going to work with me to get some awakened mind meditations, into the Finders course. So we are going to be able to potentially see how effective our meditations are, and he's going to see how effective they are too. We already know how effective they are. I think he's going to see that we are by far the most meditation practice out of the 26 that are introduced in the Finders course to people who take that course. So that's one way we're participating in the Finders course. The other way we're participating in the Finders course is to actually take the course. 5 or 6 of us, potentially more. He hasn't really limited it. I suggested 5 people. He said yes. We'll be able to have an entry fee not of $2,500 but $1,000, which is the cost of processing the data. And the data that's going to be processed on his end is, he said that he's got lawyers and spent a great deal of money to be able to use the Muse headband. So they're going to be taking EEG studies as well as heart rate and GSR measurements of people who take this 17-week course, which requires a commitment of time that's about 2 hours a day. Maybe that's one of the things I'm waiting to find out for sure from him. And what they do is go through the 26 meditation styles, a lot of different philosophies, a lot of psychological insights. It's a very well-marshaled program, integrated program that they've had going for several years. And what they find is that people make these huge leaps in consciousness, which is why we want to be part of it. We want to see our people making those leaps. And we want their people to make leaps on the basis of the awakened mind meditations. The other thing I'm waiting for from Jeffrey is a code that people can use to get that price break from $2,500 to $1,000 per person. If we can swing this, this really has a tremendous potential to be of great use to us, because then the awakened mind gets spread and more uppermost in Jeffrey's mind, so that maybe we start getting included more in these TransTech things, because he's plugged into every transformative technology in existence. So that would be extremely great. Something else that came out of the TransTech conference is that Andrea and I spent a dinner talking with Pam Parsons Dupuy and John Dupuy of IAWake. And John has been, you just saw his picture, he did a terrific program with us where he used a mind mirror to check his brainwaves during meditation, and then came on to the webinar and talked about his book, Integral Recovery. So we're taking that collaboration one step further, whereby IAWake is giving us access to 3 tracks that are 20 minutes long of binaural beat meditation that's part of their Profound Meditation series. We have the Dropbox link, it's free. I have a sheet written out how to go about doing this, where you just download the meditations, hook up to your mind mirror, check your signal quality, and then just listen, save the session, and you can do the same meditation as many times as you want, but the idea is to do all 3. Not at the same sitting, but over a period of time. So you can do the meditation, then return to ordinary consciousness, and then go back and do a meditation that day or night, or maybe the next day, something like that.
Profound meditations. The one that he put me on when I was there was the deepest of the 3. So he said, here, put this on and see what happens. And I was on it for about 5 minutes when I began to have these other insights as to what Othmar was talking about, which came up basically as images in my mind. And I was just flashing on, what was going on. So I only listened to it for 5 minutes, and I took it off, and I went, wow, got to write this down or make notes on this. The other thing that, when you're working with Jeffrey Martin, and I've mentioned this before, is that I believe that the awakened mind pattern is a standing brainwave pattern.
Yes.
And so when, I don't know how he's going to do this. Now, the specificity of 16-channel EEG is going to show what areas of the brain are operating, let's say. But what I think you're going to see is that you'll have an awakened mind pattern, but you're going to see the specific areas of the brain that are producing alpha or theta or whatever it is moving around. And if you see that, then you know what you've got is a standing brainwave pattern, because the underlying frequencies will shift from one area of the brain to the other without actually changing the overall pattern. So that's something that you might want to look for if you're working with.
Yeah, well, we were hoping, Gary, since you're so close to there, you and Don will come and be part of these trials. I just want to see publishable research that proves what we're claiming, and that's whole brain synchrony. I'm sure we're going to see it. Unity in the mind across frequencies and presumably across regions. To go back onto the IAWake, I have a sheet made up, and after this webinar, I'm just going to go ahead and mail both attachments to everybody. First of all, I have a page on the Finder's Course, and I have a page on the IAWake, and then I have the 3rd page of the frontal awakened mind pattern and our continual pursuit of what that's going to look like. I am going to send dual hookups, 3 sensors here, and then the regular mind mirror hookup here, and 2 separate sensor sets. Gary, to you and Donna first, and then ask you to send them on to Gary Sheets and Phyllis, and then whoever out in California wants to do it, and let's just get it going. So we've got an absolute measurement of what that looks like. Was when you hit the awakened mind in the back, then that's definitely where it is in the front. That's going to move around the country or the world, that dual hookup set, while we're doing this research project that everyone can participate in. And that is, as instructed on the sheet I'm going to send you, just to put 5 sensors across your forehead, listen to Anna Wise's personal transformation meditation, which I'm putting in Dropbox, and I'm sending you a link to it, and stop the session and send me the patterns. I mean, send me the session, and we're just going to conglomerate those sessions. amalgamate them, and we want to make sure two things. One, that there's not too much artifact, eye artifact. Even as you're visioning, that can be some eye artifact on the forehead. And two, we want to make sure that alpha goes to the front of the forehead in everyone. In me, the pattern, and I've hooked myself up many times to this thing, the pattern looks like this. A small beta, a small alpha, whereas normally I have a big alpha. It's a smaller alpha, a big theta, and a big delta. So it is a different pattern. You can still see that it's the awakened mind pattern, but is my pattern the same as your pattern? That's what this trial with everybody hooking up is going to tell us. And the other thing is that I've seen that alpha does not go to the forehead in everyone. And so once we have both of these sets of studies, then Steve Clark and I have talked about this, and he can easily crunch the data and see what is the common pattern. Then we're going to have that pattern, put that pattern in the software, and have everybody then try it. If that's your awakened mind pattern, the way you experience the awakened mind, then we have it. If you start getting depressed or not sleeping, we don't have it. we want to be real careful and make sure that we're not training alpha onto the forehead that doesn't belong there. So that's a caution that we've had from some neurofeedback people. But I think this is doable, and I think it's the main way that we're going to grow the mind mirror and mainstream it. Steve Clark has got an on the forehead headband. They're developing, they're on the verge of having a sensor, a DSU, that fits in the headband so you can plug it up to a phone. So we're just this close to having a new transformative technology that anybody can buy into for about 600 pounds or $800. So all practitioners can sell these to their clients for home training. They're not going to have all the data screens. They're not going to have any of this stuff that we've got in the self-training kit in terms of data analysis, user controls, and stuff like that. They will record brain waves, and they will have the self-training patterns. So this is really big for us, and I hope everyone will participate. About 6 or 7 people have already said that they want to, and maybe other people will do it as well. But of all the things that we have going, if you're interested in iAwake, please do that. That will give tremendously important information to iAwake, which is already putting a video of our webinar up on their website. So, and I'm doing a business consulting thing in conjunction with iAwake. So we want to collaborate with them. These people are really, really on our side and want to promote us like we're promoting them. We're pushing each other up. So if you want that, it's free. All you have to do is hook up and record your brainwaves and send me the session. So that is exciting. I think I'm going to put my party hat back on.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Special hello to our new people on the website, practitioners, coaches, and people who are coming from afar and rejoining this work. Helen Hess also joins us sometimes, and she's got a mind mirror practice news. So some of our previous practitioners are getting reconnected, and we're just going to see this community grow. It's really exciting and vibrant. And of course, if you have ideas for programs, please send them in. Otherwise, Oksana and I will just continue along with the ideas we now have, which is more case studies by practitioners. We have a program planned for Robin Bernard's going to be the first presenter, and we're looking for more practitioners to present there. Deborah, we're going to talk to you about possibility of sleep studies. We'd love to learn from you. We'll just see whatever comes up, but do feel free to make suggestions. Thank you for being here.